and they have these long scenes that they're in. And so I had to be the director and the parent, and the psychologist and the teacher, to try to make sure that these kids stayed focused. So it was challenging, of course, but they did such a beautiful job.
Hello. Hi, Dallas.
Hi there. Hi there. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Nice to see you. When I watched this movie, I love it.
Oh,
I
good.
love it. It's the best Christmas pageant ever. I never participated in a Christmas pageant, but I think it was amazing. The whole dynamic, everything that will happen there. I love that. So how did this script and what was about Barbara Robson's book that got your attention to direct this movie?
Yeah, almost 20 years ago, my wife, Amanda, brought the book home and said, let's read this to our kids. I had read it when I was a kid, but I didn't remember a whole lot about it. And as I'm reading it, the first couple chapters are so funny. It's so well written. It's so witty and nostalgic, and it's got a great Christmas classic feel to it. And the story of the 6 Herdman kids who are the worst kids in the world, and they're mean, and they're in poverty, and people at the church don't really want them around because they're always disruptive. They hijack the town's Christmas pageant, and they want to play the main roles, and so everyone thinks, well, they can't do this. This is a sacred story. Well, we get to the last chapter when it's time to perform the pageant, and I don't want to spoil anything, but the story of these 6 kids in poverty and who are outsiders being close to the heart of the true Christmas story because of their outsider status, because they are in poverty. I was so moved. I'm just crying. There's tears streaming down my face. I can't even read. I'm crying so hard. And my wife's like, let me read it. And then she starts crying. And so when we finished the book, I just said, I have to make this movie. And for almost 20 years, I've been trying to get the rights to make this movie, and I kept getting told no. But the movie wasn't getting made. And finally, after The Chosen came out and had its success and the other studios couldn't get the movie made, I finally got the rights, and it's just I'm so moved that I get a chance to bring this story in theaters around the country.
Such an amazing story, as I already said, and you said as well. So how did you balance, because there is a lot of heart, but at the same time, a lot of jokes, and those kids are really mean sometimes.
Yeah.
So no spoil that, but if you read the book, you can see that. How did you balance that, on especially on the acting part, on set with the story?
Yeah, that was really important, is to find actors who can not only be funny and be intense, and some of the kid actors who can be mean or obnoxious. That's of course important, but then if that's all the movie is, then there's no point in it. I'm not interested in just doing another Christmas movie that just gives you a few laughs and doesn't give you anything of meaning. And this movie ultimately has a lot of heart. It's very spiritually impactful. It's got an important message about the birth of Christ and how we need to love those who are outsiders, those who struggle, even those who are mean, and that we need to live out what the Christmas story really means. And so that's super important, and to find actors who can pull that off. And also, yes, to find the music and the production design and the tone of the movie, so that, yes, you're going to have laughs, but when you also have the point of the movie where it has to be meaningful, it actually does hit you. It does move you and impact you. So that's difficult, but that's what I'm hopefully trained to do. It's what that's what I do for a living, is even in The Chosen, sometimes you're going to laugh, because sometimes laughter can bring your emotions to the surface and make an emotional moment even more powerful. So that's what I believe you're going to see when you see this movie. And it's what the critics and the audiences have been saying, is that they're laughing and crying, which I think is a good sign.
We all did. A lot of laughing, but a lot of crying. And I just remember that I didn't participate in a pageant, but I was married in one of when I was 8 years old. I was married. I had to put the thing for me. I was like, oh my God, now I remember that.
Yeah, because we see these nativity scenes where sometimes it's statues or sometimes it's real people. And I think sometimes we look at a painting or a stained glass window or a nativity display, and we forget that Jesus was born in poverty, that his parents, Mary and Joseph, were scared and outsiders and refugees in some ways, and in hiding and not knowing what was happening. And Jesus did not come as a conquering king. And I think it's important to be reminded of that. And then hopefully we then become servants of other people.
Exactly. And also that people has the right to have a second chance, and
Yes.
they have the right to learn and redeem themselves. I think that's another important message of the movie as well. Also to find, like, I know that Judy Green and Laurie Graham, super powerful actresses. How was about them? Like, what was about both of them that made you
Yeah.
pick them to play like pretty
Yeah.
much the protagonists of this
Yeah.
movie?
So Judy Greer has been a great actress for a long time, and when she read the script, she just loved it. She said it reminded her of what Christmas was all about, and she's so funny but yet so heartwarming. And she hadn't played a role like this before, and she does such an amazing job. Lauren Graham from Gilmore Girls and Parenthood is just wonderful. So she narrates the movie. Look, it's her telling the story of her younger self. And then, of course, she has a scene in the movie as well where we get to see her is just so wonderful. And again, it's these actresses and actors who can do both comedy and drama. And so they just love the script, they love the movie, and so it was a true privilege to get them involved in this.
Yeah, as a director, what was like your biggest challenge? Because you've been directing The Chosen, which is a success, and it's a series, and I think the pace, everything's kind of different. What was like your challenge directing this movie?
Well, it's so different from The Chosen, and I had a different crew. I was filming up in Canada, but I will say the storytelling is the same. The connection between The Chosen and The Best Christmas Pageant Ever is they're both about the raw, authentic story of Jesus and seeing that through fresh eyes, even though we're not changing the story. But the style is different, of course. This is much more, there's much more comedy in this. But it was good for me because I needed a break, a little bit of a break. I've been doing first century Israel, handheld cameras, with all these actors that I work with so often for 4 seasons. I needed a creative break, just to do something a little different, and it made me better. I came back to season 5 a better filmmaker, and so it really was helpful for me.
That's amazing. And the kids, like to cast those kids, they're amazing kids. They're young actors that I see bright futures for them. I hope they can.
Yes.
And how was like this process? Because you have to, it's a lot of kids,
Yeah.
so.
Well, it
And
was a lot of kids. It's very challenging, and you get a limited amount of time. You don't get your full shooting day with the kids because they can only work for a certain amount of time by law, which is good. And so we had to move very fast. And I had a lot of kids, and a lot of kids, they get their attention span is not very long, and they have these long scenes that they're in. And so I had to be the director and the parent, and the psychologist and the teacher, to try to make sure that these kids stayed focused. So it was challenging, of course, but they did such a beautiful job, and they loved the project. And the critics, when they give the reviews of the film that have been very positive, they're talking about how great the kids are as actors, and it really was a challenging but beautiful process.
yeah, yes, it is. And I'm from Brazil, and The Chosen is very big over there. I need to
Yes.
ask you, like, and I interviewed the cast for season 3 and 4, and I think it's amazing what the show did. And have you ever thought that when you did the season 1 that you're gonna have all this, like everybody was like, oh my God, rooting for
Yes.
this story. Have you ever thought about that? Like all the success that you got it?
Well, and first of all, I love
Not you with the
Brazil.
series, like.
Yeah, no, of course. But first of all, I love Brazil. I was there over a year ago. I'm going to be coming back to Brazil early next year for season 5 premieres of The Chosen. Yeah, I never had in my head that the whole world would be seeing the show and that people all over the world in different languages would be sharing with me how it's changed their life. I'm really just trying to focus on the show itself and making sure that I'm honoring God, but and not focused on the results. But when you hear the stories of impact, and in Brazil, it's just huge. I mean, the Brazil has just so embraced the show. and their lives have been impacted. It's just overwhelming, and I'm so grateful to God for it.
Yeah, yeah. My interviews, everybody was like, "Oh my God, you need to interview so and so. You need to talk so and so." I was like,
Yeah.
"Wait, it's not like
Yeah.
that. Doesn't work like that. That I call
Yeah.
them and then they come."
Yes,
And
exactly.
but I think that's like because you do with your heart and the guidance of God. That's why you got the result that you got from
Yes.
that. So
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
That's amazing. And so come back to the Christmas pageant, and what did you learn about yourself, like directing this movie? If you learned something, I of course you did, but
Yeah, I always learn something because I always want to be curious. I never want to stop learning. I want to become a better filmmaker, and of course, I want to be closer to God and growing as a man of God. But this movie, when I was making it, of course, it teaches me leadership skills and patience and dealing with all different types of actors and all different types of stories. But ultimately, the thing that I want to other people to take from this movie is what I learned reading the book and writing the movie is that God is near to those who are brokenhearted, those who are lost, those who are in poverty, those who are challenged, and He wants us to be near to them too. And realizing that not only can we give love to others and bring the story of Jesus to others, but that sometimes others can teach us something too, and that we can learn from each other and our shared humanity, and ultimately that points towards God. So that's something that really hit me when I was getting a chance to make this movie, and I hope the audience has the same reaction.
yeah. And do you have like a favorite scene or favorite moment of the movie?
Well, the performance of the Christmas pageant, the end of the movie is when I was in the book reading and crying so deeply. And so making that and showing that and bringing that scene to the world and seeing people crying and being so moved by it has been awesome. So that's definitely my favorite.
Oh my God, that scene is so good, so good, so
Good.
good, so good. And
Yeah, thank
aside
you.
from you working like promoting this movie, you have The Chosen, that you're working on. Any other projects that you're working on that you can talk about?
Well, they're all related to The Chosen besides Best Christmas Pageant Ever. So we are developing a Joseph miniseries from the Bible. We're working on our animated project, The Chosen Adventures, which is the Gospels, but through the eyes of these two children who are experiencing their adventures in first century Capernaum. Ultimately, I'll be doing, when I'm done with The Chosen current 7 seasons, I'll be going into the story of Moses, doing a show covering the story of Moses. So these are all being developed right now. So we're hoping to tell more Bible stories for the rest of my life.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And it's a labor of love that you guys do over there. I love it. I love it. Thank you so
Yes.
much for that. And for us to wrap it up, what is your like perfect picture of a Christmas night for you? A Christmas
Well,
day?
yeah.
Because you guys don't celebrate. I celebrate Christmas Eve. Usually people celebrate Christmas Day. So, but it was
Well,
like,
we definitely celebrate Christmas Eve because every year we watch It's a Wonderful Life, and we gather around and we get on our couches, we get comfortable, and we eat ice cream and all the foods we don't normally eat because they're well, we want to celebrate and just watch that movie every single year, and every year I cry. And then we also, of course, read the Best Christmas Pageant Ever book to our kids every year, but hopefully now we'll start watching the movie as well.
amazing. Dallas, I just want to thank you so much for your time. Muito obrigada. I hope to see you
Yes.
going to Brazil again. Thank you so much and a lot of success.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. If you like to support or continue to support Jana on Camera, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share the videos.